All right, hello. In this video, we're looking at an example from Chapter 7, the chi-squared chapter about goodness of fit and test for association. So we're looking at, I think, example number 4. I'm going to go through this. I want to make sure to state the null alternative hypothesis in English, give the test statistic, degrees of freedom, p-value, make sure we have expected counts of at least 5, decision for the hypothesis test, reject or not to reject, and then write a conclusion in, it's plain English. All right, so we went through 1 through 3, so I want to look at number 4. Researchers want to know if giving cocaine addicts medication that fights depression will help them stay off cocaine. This is a 3-year study that compared an antidepressant, desipramine, with lithium, a standard treatment, and a placebo, a sugar pill. Subjects were 72 chronic cocaine users, and they were randomly assigned to each of these 3 groups. And the counts of the patients who avoided relapse into cocaine were given during the study. So 24 subjects were given the antidepressant, desipramine. Out of those 24, 14 did not relapse, which means 10 did. For the lithium group, 24 received the lithium standard treatment, 6 did not relapse, which means 18 did. And then out of the placebo group, 24 were given that placebo, and 4 did not relapse, which means 20 did relapse. So we want to know, is there good evidence, we'll go with the 5% significance level, that whether someone relapsed or not is associated with the treatment that they received. All right, so we're looking at, since we have 2 variables, and the variables here are treatment and relapse or not. This is a test for association. So for the null hypothesis, we assume there is no association between the relapse rate and treatment given. The alternative hypothesis is that there is some association between relapse rate and treatment. All right, I just want to note for this null hypothesis, we're looking at treatment given. I should put a note out of the 3 options above, right? So there might be more than these 2 treatments and placebo, but looking at the no treatment, placebo, and the 2 different treatments. An alternative hypothesis is that there is some association. All right, so I want to enter this into StatKey now to get, so I want to go to StatKey to figure out my chi-squared test statistic, and to make sure we have expected counts of at least 5. Before we do that, though, we could write down the degrees of freedom. And that's going to be R minus 1 times C minus 1. This is doing test for association. The number of rows are 3. And the number of columns are 2. So think about this. I've got 3 different treatments. And then there are 2 options, to relapse or to not relapse. So that would be 2 degrees of freedom. All right, so if I go to StatKey, all right, now I'm going to click on the chi-squared test for association. Click on Edit Data. And here I'm going to say no relapse. And what's kind of interesting or different about the setup is it's the 2 categories that they do not relapse. And the other option is that they do relapse. I might be spelling that wrong, but the first treatment is the desipramine. 24 subjects, but the thing about the 2 categories are to relapse. 14 relapsed, but that means 10 did not. 14 did not relapse, so that backwards, and 10 did relapse. All right, we take the lithium group. 6 did not relapse. So out of 24, 24 minus 6 is 18. So 6 did not relapse, but that means 18 did relapse. And lastly, for the placebo group, I think it was 4. I'll double check here. Yeah, 4 did not relapse. So 24 minus 4 means that I have 20 did relapse. All right, so I've got the disepramine, 14 and 10, lithium, 6 and 18, placebo, 4 and 20. So no, I had to change the table a little bit to match up. So here we go, I've got those 24, 72 subjects, relapse, did not relapse, and then do relapse. If I click on show details, I want to double check those expected counts. 8 and 16, 8 and 16, 8 and 16, so those are all at least 8. And just to note, kind of, the disepramine seemed to be the most effective. There should have been 8 did not relapse, but 14 did. That big difference leads to this chi-square contribution of 4.5. Otherwise, the rest of these values are pretty close to what should have happened. Disepramine is definitely the biggest difference. Chi-squared is 10.5. So let me write down all this information. Each expected frequency is at least 5. This satisfies the requirements to do the chi-squared test. The test statistic is chi-squared equals 10.5. 10.5. And the p-value, I can do the p-value. I need to go out of here, 10.5. Go into stat key, click on theoretical distributions, chi-squared. Degrees of freedom was 2. 2 degrees of freedom. Always right tail for chapter 7. And in this bottom test statistic value was 10.5. Click OK. We get a 0.0052. So 0.0052. All right, the p-value is significantly less than our 5% significance level. So since p-value is less than significance, we reject the null hypothesis. This study provides evidence that the treatment type and whether a patient relapses or not are associated. All right, so kind of looking at here, okay, we have an answer to the first part. There is an association, or we have evidence that there's an association between treatment received and whether someone relapsed or not. Can we tell which treatment is most effective? Interesting. So I want to create 3 hypothesis or confidence intervals. So let's create 3 confidence intervals for, I'm going to write this down as P sub D, P sub L, and P sub P for placebo, which are the proportion of all cocaine addicts that do not relapse after having the treatment. Disepramine, lithium, and placebo, respectively. So I want to look at, let's see, I think I could put this all on one page so it's easier for you guys to look at. Okay, so I want to create confidence intervals for all 3 of these. So not confidence interval difference of means, but just look at, well, what's a confidence interval for the proportion of all disepramine that did not relapse. So we have a 0.583. So to do that, I'm actually going to go to GeoGebra. I think that's a little faster way. Click on that probability. Statistics. And right here, I'm going to go down to Z estimate of a proportion. For all of these, I want to make sure I have a 95%, since we're using a 5% significance level, 95% confidence. For disepramine, we had 14 successes out of 24. So I get a confidence interval of, I'm going to round this to 2 decimals, 39% to 78%. So the confidence interval for disipramine success rate is between, what was it? It was 39% and 78%. All right, so somewhere between 39 and 78% of cocaine addicts will not relapse. So we are 95% confident that between 39% and 78% of cocaine addicts that receive disipramine treatment will not relapse. All right, for this other one, I've got for lithium, it's 6 out of 14. So I just need to change that number to a 6. Click OK. I've got basically 8% here to 42%. We are 95% confident that between 7%, 8% and 42, excuse me, 8% and 42% of cocaine addicts that receive lithium treatment will not relapse. And lastly, we are 95% confident that between, let's see, for the no treatment, basically 4 and 24. I'll change this number to 4, click OK. Now see here I have a 2% to 32%. So between 2% and 32% of cocaine addicts that receive no treatment, because since this is a group taking the placebo, will not relapse. So if we look at all these confidence intervals, 39% to 78% there's some overlap between lithium and disepramine, but the disepramine has a much larger confidence interval and it's much more positive. So these confidence intervals give evidence that disipramine is the best treatment of the 3 options for cocaine addicts to not relapse. All right, okay, so hopefully that makes sense. We did the test for association since we found evidence that the treatment type and whether the patient relapses or not are associated. So then usually it's standard practice to then take more of like a deep dive to look at the data a little bit more. I looked at each of those proportions separately, and all of them had a positive proportion, which is good, but the largest percentage was the disepramine with 39% to 78% as possibilities for the true success rate.